Project Management Insights, providing project managers with professional development in the interpersonal skills areas of leadership, team building, and communication. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Project Management Insights. Today, I want to talk to you about solving problems, and I'm not talking about the general run-of-the-mill project management type things. I'm talking about those other off-tangent things like issues that you might have with a project team member, or problems with a vendor, or maybe even just the fact that you yourself are feeling totally overwhelmed and totally stressed. Those sort of problems, people problems, I suppose, but the things that might not necessarily, you don't think fall into the day-to-day project work that you normally do. Because, of course, you think of your job or your role as a project manager is to be managing your scope, managing your budget, and managing your timeline. Well, these are those other things that sit there that you might have a problem with. Well, where do you go, or what do you do to solve those problems? Have you ever found that there's someone in your business or organization that is like a mentor or a support person to you that you can go and talk to? Sometimes it might be your immediate manager, and it's great if you have that person as a trusted advisor or a trusted person that's there for you. And yet sometimes it's a bit difficult because they don't understand project life necessarily, unless they've been a project manager themselves. This is what I found. And of course, some of these things are, I guess the difficulty is they are standard sort of problems that you have in any work environment. So the person or the manager might understand them. And yet in the context of working on a project, there's a lot more tension. There's a lot more need to do things quickly. So often there's a very, very strict time constraints. There's a lot of pressure and extra pressure on people often when they're working on projects that's not understood by people working outside of the project, because outside of the project, people just do their day-to-day stuff and they don't understand as I said, all of this pressure and added rigor, doing things quickly, turning things around quickly, coming up with solutions quickly. Everything has to happen quickly. And oftentimes people outside of, as I said, people outside of the project don't often understand that. And so sometimes having that person external to the project might help, because they might have general skills and abilities in the area that you want to talk to them about. And sometimes it mightn't help because they mightn't always understand, as I said, that added pressure and the time constraints or the rigor that's needed because you're working on a project. Same deal. If you are working with external vendors as part of your project team, or they are part of your overall project delivery team specifically, who do you go to talk to when you have problems with them? Sometimes it has to be the senior managers, because they're the only ones that can go senior manager to senior manager to have a problem rectified. And oftentimes you might not have the engagement with those senior managers that you perhaps want or need or understand. You mightn't even know the right people to go to be able to talk to about who is going to be able to help you in that situation. I've engaged with our contractor unit sometimes when I've had issues with vendors. I've also been to our legal team to speak to them and gain support for doing things with vendors, because oftentimes there are legal agreements involved, and so they are the people who understand all that and are likely to be able to help you. So I understand that there are perhaps people out there that might solve problems for you that you might not have ever thought of as the people that could solve your problems inside your project and while your project is operational. Now, of course, there are other people like me who could help you and support you at times, because I am a project manager. I've had project management experience, as you well know from listening to my podcasts, and I could be a coach or a support person for you. And I mean, oftentimes we don't think about the fact that there might be other project managers out there who could help us or support us. So think about the fact that there are project or might be project managers out there who are in this space of coaching, mentoring, assisting, whatever you want to call it. And they might be even just project managers in your own organization. Go and talk to them. How have you solved this problem? What have you done? How have you gone about it? Don't be afraid to go and ask for that support or assistance from the other project managers in your organization. I was working on a project as a change manager, and there were issues from the reporting perspective around the fact that there was actually no reporting going on for the project. And the project manager, whilst I was supporting her and helping her, also went to another project manager and talked to him. And he provided her with a template that he regularly used, his one-page reporting template. And so from then on in, she learned what it was like to create project reporting output each week for her project owner and the external vendor that was very heavily involved in the outcome of the project. And so she satisfied a need by, working with another project manager in the organization. So remember that there are likely to be project managers that are going to want to support you and be willing to support you in some of these problems that you may have. Now, one of my good friends and one of the people that you've heard as a guest on my podcasts several times before is Mark Steele. And Mark, for example, is setting up a mastermind group for project managers to work together to solve problems that they're having in a mastermind group. So again, another great idea of getting people with project management experience, project management skills, and ideas together so that they can brainstorm. There will obviously be no new problems that have been dealt with in the project management space because projects have been going on for many, many years. And so why not work in a mastermind group where there are other project managers with experience and knowledge and ideas that could help you solve the problems that you have? So stop and have a think when you have a problem about the fact of who is it that might be able to help me and support me best. Don't be afraid to ask for support. Don't be afraid to go to an external person. There are always non-disclosure agreements or confidentiality agreements that can be signed with anyone external that you want to talk to so that the information about your project or specific people is not, talked about in a broader sense. And that way you might get help and support and ideas in ways that you hadn't thought about yourself, because some of these things might be new to you. You might not have worked with a lot of external vendors before in the work that you've done. So find someone that's worked with external vendors, talk to them. Think about the fact that you do have people out in the broader environment that are there to support you or can support you in your work as a project manager. And at the same time, just consider that what you're doing is upskilling yourself, because the more of these people that you interact with and engage with, the more knowledge you are actually gaining to add to your own base skills as a project manager. And that is only going to hold worth for you in the longer term, and your ability to gain more advanced roles in project management and perhaps managing larger projects because you have undertaken things successfully and solved problems in a way that is going to work and be effective for yourself and your project and ultimately the organization or business that you're working for in the long term. So consider that as an option and see where you go from there. Well, that's it for me for another weekly episode of Project Management Insights. I look forward to speaking to you again next week for another episode. And in the meantime, have happy project managing.
Thank you for listening to this Project Management Insights podcast. Be sure to visit projectmanagementinsight.com and sign up for our monthly newsletter or to receive updates on upcoming training.